let me start by talking about why we're here and what the purpose of this bill is. And so this bill is about great teachers and great leaders. And this bill began because what we all know is the truth is that in many small neighborhoods of Colorado today, 8th graders got up, got out of bed, put on their backpacks, and walked to school. And when they hit the door of that school, they know before they open that door a couple of things are true. We know that there are some of those kids that are walking up to that door right now, a couple of grade levels behind in math, a couple of grade levels behind in reading and in writing. And we also know that they know that. Right? Teachers and principals know when you have a kid who's struggling, she's the first one to know it. It's no mystery to her. And we also know what the prospects are on the other side of that door, which is we know she has two options. She may open that door and walk into a school with a great principal and walk into a classroom with a great teacher, and she may have the tremendous opportunity to actually close that gap. 4 years later, she may turn it around. She may graduate from high school. She may be admitted to college. She may go on to a career that can support her and her family and reach the dreams that she's had since she was a little kid. We also know that equally possible right now is that she walks into that schoolroom and ends up someplace without a great principal or without a great teacher. And what we know is that the chances increase dramatically that she never makes it through high school, and that she becomes one of the almost 50% of kids in some of our communities in this state that never graduate high school and never make it to college. And we know, and many of the folks in this room know, the risk factors that multiply after that moment. We know that she's not just giving up over $1 million in earnings over the course of her life. We know that she's dramatically increasing the likelihood of being unemployed or underemployed for significant parts of her life. We know she's dramatically increasing the chances of being without health care, of being the first one to lose a job and the last one to get another job when the next recession hits. We know that she dramatically increases the chance that her own kids themselves will not ever finish high school or make it to college or make it to the middle class or fulfill the dreams that she and her parents and grandparents had for probably the first time they got on a boat to come to this country, however many tens or hundreds of years ago it was. And so that is what brings us here today. It's a simple answer to one of the most complex of problems, which is there is not going to be a curriculum or a professional development program or any of the other education reforms of the day that we've talked about that has the power to close the gap for that girl. The only thing that has that power is the transformative impact of a great teacher and the transformative impact of a great leader. And so we are here today because we know that the only solution to the problem that we see in American education right now is great teachers and great leaders. They are the solution to this issue. They are not the problem with this issue. And so we'll talk a little bit. My co-sponsors will talk about some of the core components of this bill, why they're supporting it. We'll be happy to take some question and answers. I'll just quickly frame for you what the heart of this bill does. And I know that there are folks who have been in conversation about this for a long time, so you probably heard more about it than you wanted to at this point. But we've been working on this bill for 6 months, and we've had at the table stakeholders from parents to students to teachers to principals to school board members to superintendents, and we think the product is a strong one after all that. And the goal is that we believe it's time for the state to help invest in and develop a definition for what it means to be an effective teacher and an effective principal. We believe that part of that definition has to be based on what matters the most about how we support kids, which is showing that they are improving from the day they walked into the school until the day they walked out. That from September 1 to May 30th, we've left that student more prepared to read, write, and do math in the 21st century than they were when they walked in the door. That's an important part of it. And when we build that definition collaboratively, and this calls on the Governor's Council to support the great work the Governor already did on this, to let his council define what an effective teacher is, and to define how we're going to measure that effectiveness. Once that's been done, we think it's important that then we use that definition to help make the important decisions we make throughout an educator's career, including how we identify them for additional career ladders that give them additional pay and additional responsibility to help support the rest of the educators in this profession. It means helping use that to make key decisions about things like how one earns the privilege of non-probationary status and how one keeps that privilege of non-probationary status. And we believe that ultimately we need to use that definition to help principals and school leaders and teams of teachers that are helping lead schools toward improvement to be able to ensure that teachers are coming to their building by mutual consent. So we don't disrespect teachers by forcing them into buildings where they don't want to work, and we don't disrespect principals and leadership teams who are trying to turn those schools around by forcing them to bring on people who they don't think are a fit for their mission.